Hey, this is a quick tutorial on how to make a scatter plot using Microsoft Excel. As you can see here, I've already got some sample data here that we're going to use to make our scatter plot. I just want to give you a little bit of information about the kinds of data that you would maybe like to use for a scatter plot. Unlike a bar graph in which you're comparing different groups to see if there are differences between them depending on conditions, for a scatter plot, usually you're looking at two different sets of data that are generated by the same participant. So in the example that I'm using here, we've got different participants, numbers 1 through 14, and they've indicated their hourly wage, so how much they make in dollar amounts per hour, and that goes from $13 an hour all the way up to $30 an hour. And then we've also had them complete a life satisfaction survey. So this is just a self-report survey where they indicate how satisfied they are with their lives, and this survey, hypothetically speaking, we'll say can range in value from 0 all the way up to 50. So 50, this score right here, would indicate maximum levels of life satisfaction. In this case, we might be interested to see what the relationship might be between hourly wage, how much money somebody is making, and life satisfaction, how satisfied they are with their lives overall. And one way we could display this kind of information is through creating a scatter plot, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So first thing, I'm going to highlight all of the information. Next up, we're going to go to the Charts tab, and we're going to select the scatter plot. The kind of scatter plot that we'd like to do is just the simple marked scatter. This will work fine. So we'll select that, and voila, we have created a simple scatter plot. Now, you might notice right away there are some things that are wrong with this scatter plot. I'm going to make it a bit larger. First thing, you can see a lot of the data that has been generated by this survey unfortunately is occupying a very small portion of the graph, which makes it difficult to read. One way we can fix this is by limiting the values of our vertical, our y-axis, and our horizontal, or x-axis. So first thing, we're going to go to the vertical y-axis. We'll select Format Axis. In this case, because our vertical axis is giving us an indication of life satisfaction, it's life satisfaction survey score, and since, looking at our data over here, the lowest score is 37, we can set our minimum to something just slightly below 37, and that will enable us to view all of our values. So I'm going to set it to 35, alright, and as you can see already, we have a much larger, more visible vertical spread of the data. We're going to do something similar for the hourly wage data, which is plotted on the x-axis in this case. So I'm going to once again select Format Axis. We're going to go to Scale, and for this data you can see the lowest hourly wage is $13 an hour. So as long as we're picking something that's a little bit below $13 an hour, we will be able to display all of our data. So I'm going to select $10 an hour as our data minimum, and already you can see that we have a much more illustrative view of the relationship between these two variables now that we've restricted our axis. There are a few things still wrong with this chart, unfortunately. One thing is the fact that the chart title is not particularly illustrative. It doesn't give us a lot of information about what's happening in the chart. Obviously, this chart doesn't just display information about the life satisfaction survey, but it's looking at hourly wages versus life satisfaction scores. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our chart. We will go to Chart Layout. We'll go to the title, and we're just going to wait for this to load. Come on. There we go. We're going to change our title, and more accurate description of what's happening here is that we are looking at life satisfaction. Oh, correct that typo. Scores versus hourly wages. All right. Next up, it's important to indicate which axis indicates which kind of score. So as I mentioned before, our vertical axis, our y-axis, is indicating the life satisfaction survey score. So we're going to go to axis titles. We'll go to the vertical axis. And I like to do the rotated title, so I'm going to select this. We've created the title, so now we're going to fill it in, and I will use life satisfaction survey scores, and in brackets, out of 50, just to give a little bit of extra information. Fantastic. And as you know, the x-axis in this case is indicating hourly wages, and we're going to indicate that by inputting a horizontal axis title. So for this one, we will select it, and we will put hourly wage in dollars per hour. Fantastic. Last but not least, this legend is telling us that each data point is just a life satisfaction survey result. In fact, each data point represents an individual participant. The Y value indicates the life satisfaction survey score, and the X value indicates the hourly wage. So this legend is not particularly useful, so I'm actually going to eliminate it. And there you see, we have a nicely illustrative scatter plot chart. What we can see right here is that it looks like as hourly wage increases, for the most part, the life satisfaction survey scores are also increasing. And scatter plots are the kind of chart where we can view this kind of trend. So this gives you the basic scatter plot. I'm going to make a second tutorial, and that will show you how to actually calculate both regression lines and some inferential statistics, correlation coefficients on your scatter chart data. So hopefully you found this helpful.